2025 of the Burlington School Committee to order. This is a hybrid meeting being recorded and accessed via WebEx. The meeting link is on the calendar at burlington.org. For those of you online right now, we are going to broadcast the school committee meeting sound only because VCAT is broadcasting the Simon Youth Academy graduation that's happening right now, and they are finishing up. I just came from there, and Dr. Conti is still there, so when he comes back, we will switch over to video in the room. All right, our first order of business, Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
All right, we have a warrant on the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions on the warrant? I think we all signed it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye. It's 5-0. The next item is the approval of the meeting minutes from May 27th. We had a revised, Marion sent a revised version.
Yeah, it was just the date that was changed, I asked.
That's correct.
Yeah. So moved.
Second.
Questions on the minutes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye. Meeting minutes are approved. We have a new student representative. Would you introduce yourself for us real quick?
Hello, my name is Akshara Agarwal, and I am the new representative for the Student Council. I am a rising junior, and I'm excited to be here.
Welcome. Thank you for
Welcome.
coming.
Thank you.
Do you want to give a report, or you just want to? Okay, great.
Okay, so we'll start with the seniors. They have they had a car wash planned for June 7th at the middle school. It was kind of similar to the ones that the sophomores and freshmen had planned before. So for that, they took cash and had a QR Venmo set up. And for next year, they're planning on doing a hallway decoration again because they won our hallway decoration last year. Unfortunate, but it's okay. And they're also trying to make some prizes so like more people participate in the like fundraisers or like school events for prom upcoming and like prom tickets. And they really thought selling food at certain events was a good way to make money, so they will be trying to sell more food at events. Now coming to the rising juniors, the class of 2027, we had a car wash with the freshmen. We made around 700, a little more than that in total. And then during like a flex, we had games and freeze pops set up for like just a class outdoor activity. It was pretty successful. And for next year, to build more community, we're gonna do a crazy hairstyle and have a president pied, pie or president. For next year, we have some more fundraising events planned as well, and our original teacher decorating that we do every year in the cafeteria. We have also been thinking of doing some babysitting nights. And then for the class of 2028, the rising sophomores, they had planned a spike night on June 6th, but it didn't go through because of a lacrosse game. So during next year, around Halloween, they're planning on doing that again, as well as a boo basket selling.
Spike night. What's a spike night?
A spike night is like a volleyball tournament.
Oh, okay.
I thought that might
Okay,
was it.
all right.
Maybe was it, but I
Wasn't
didn't
sure.
guess.
Yeah. And then they're also thinking of having a t-shirt decorating during their prep rally. And they also had the very successful car wash with us. And as of exec board, our next year plan is to do a pie a teacher and have more pizza for the students who participated in in-class fundraisers, so it motivates them more. That's all for now. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much for joining, and we look forward to this year.
Of course. Thank you.
It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
All right, any comments?
thank you.
Move to public participation. Reminder, this is for items not on the agenda, and comments are limited to 3 minutes. Anyone here? Anyone on the phone?
No hands raised.
Okay. We can move to subcommittee reports. I think we have a field subcommittee report.
We do. So the field subcommittee met last Thursday. We took a vote and we will amend the field layout to do a reduced footprint. We're currently working on looking at the layout of features and things to add. We have, hopefully coming tonight or early tomorrow morning, we'll have options that we'll discuss at our next meeting on Thursday. And then we'll bring something to the committee shortly.
Question.
Yeah.
Do you think it'll get rolling in time to get it done this
It
year?
will not get done this year.
No?
I'm not going to make that promise.
Is there any possibility?
It's possible, but I'm not going to rush this to $4.7 million project. I'm not rushing to failure. We're doing a major redesign, and I'm not going to rush that.
Okay.
I can't think of any other subcommittees. We good? Ways and Means, Cheyenne?
Thank you. Ways and Means has nothing to report at this time.
Awesome. For other announcements, we had an awesome graduation. Wasn't this past weekend, the weekend before, and went very well. I was really touched by the student speeches. One about you have to impress your 8-year-old self and your 80-year-old self. I'm going to remember that forever. So that was a really important message. And then Dr. Conti just must have finished the Simon Youth Academy graduation. We had 16 graduates there. Last year, I think we had 5, so this is a huge number, and it was very, very touching to see how hard these folks worked. And the teachers also spoke about how they're all really passionate about there's a different educational path for every student, and I, speaking as a school committee, feel like we do a great job of making sure we support every single student's path to a diploma. So it was a really nice ceremony. Anyone else have announcements? Dr. Conti?
Thank you, Madam Chair, for attending. Some people don't make the connection between the Simon Mall at Burlington Mall, and the Simon Youth Academy, so they are, again, longtime community partners, and the Simon Youth Foundation also provides financial support. So 2 of our graduates, I think one received $2,500 over 2 years, so $5,000, and another of our graduates received $4,000 over 4 years, so $16,000 from the Simon Youth Foundation. So I know many people just drive by the mall or spend time in the mall, but they are an important partner for the school district. And I think this is our 7th or 8th year working with Simon Youth Foundation. So I want to thank them.
All right. A sports medicine update.
We might need to
Oh,
jump around just a little
okay,
bit.
sure.
Madam Chair, there's I think there's a playoff girls
Yes.
lacrosse game,
Yep.
so they are coming in
Oh, sure.
off of that. So if I could just have you go to number 6, the adjustment of the BSAA scheduling stipend. And this is, from my perspective, just a very administrative change. Nicole noticed in the contract that the BSAA is our administrative contract. It just mentioned a scheduling stipend for the high school, not the middle school. And we do have, obviously, scheduling going on at the middle school as well. So we wanted to recommend that the school committee approve an adjustment to the BSAA contract where we're adding MS scheduling instead of just having it BHS. I think I would have rather had it just say scheduling stipends, but I think, Nicole, if we have both, it would be either way. So it would we just need to add MS according to Nicole's advice. So I would just recommend that we add the MS scheduling to the BSAA contract so we can pay the stipend.
Need a motion?
I do.
So moved.
Second.
Questions?
Yeah, so it says it's $8 total. Is that for the entire stipend? Where is the money coming from? Which line of accounting? There's not a lot of information in the backup.
It is an existing stipend, Mr. Brooks, and it is not $8. I think it's close to $8,000, so I think that's a typo. And again, it's an existing stipend in the contract. The money's coming from the salary item. Nicole, there was a misalignment between what we're doing and what the contract says, so this would just bring us into alignment.
Yeah, let's just clarify the motion, because it does say $7.99 in the backup.
The amount is $7,995
Okay.
for FY '25.
All right, so moved all over again.
Okay,
Second.
okay. Good. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye, 5-0.
Don't see Sean
Enrollment?
yet. So we can go over the enrollment. Ms. Miliano. Robin, thank you for coming.
Hi, Robin.
So Dr. Conti wanted me to just come up tonight and discuss a little bit about our enrollment and where we're sort of standing at this point. So it looks like for our elementary schools, we're averaging around 17 students per section. I mean, that's going to go up and down a little bit for each of the schools, but average district-wide is about 17 students per classroom, and that's pretty much in line with what we have this year. We have had registrations coming in, and I feel like I say this every time that I'm up here, but it seems like a pretty consistent, rolling admission, and even we've just had recently just 8 registrations just come in that we're going to start from the end of May to the end of June. So the enrollment is pretty steady. Where we look good in all of our schools. I think that we had gone back to having Memorial School having 24 sections. This current year they have 22. So we've upped them back to their original 24, and that helps their enrollment quite a bit, so that their class sizes will be just around 16, 17. And just as an aside, since May 1, I had sort of run some numbers. So this is for incoming enrollment. We have registered over 40 students to the elementary, middle, and high school that will be joining us in September. So, and we anticipate over the summer that the enrollment will continue to come in. Now, the numbers that I'm talking about right now does not include any of our students that are going to be withdrawn, because we know that we will have some students who will be moving and who will, but we will average out to be around 17 to 17.5 students per classroom in the elementary school.
Madam Chair, Robin, Ms. Miliano and I also discussed that the use of hotels by the state of Massachusetts is ending. So our families that have been on Second Ave in the extended stay are being put into permanent housing.
Yes, that's what they're trying to do. So it's actually South Ave that was our hotel, and so we, at the height we probably had close to 45 students from our pre-K through our high school, and the governor is closing down all of the emergency shelters, the hotel shelters, and so we know that our shelter is going to be closing at the end of July, and our students our families have been being moved into permanent housing. Most of them have gone to other districts, not, we've had just a small percentage that have stayed in Burlington, who have found housing in Burlington. And so we will see a decline in enrollment from our students from South Ave, because by July 31st, they will be placed in permanent housing, hopefully.
So we look on track. We'll email everyone the handout, but we haven't really seen too many surprises. And the budgeting that we've done is, I know the elementary class size is something that's very important to this committee. And again, district-wide, we're around 17. So again, we'll have some up and some down, but I think that's a great spot for us to be in. So thank you for supporting the teachers that you've supported, and we'll give regular updates through the summer, just to make sure that we are keeping track of the trends that we have. So
At this point, there's nothing that we need to be worried about adding an extra classroom anywhere, or that we're overstaffed anywhere either. We look really right on track to where we should be.
Robin, how's the kindergarten look?
Kindergarten looks really good, Mrs. Monaco. At Memorial School, Mrs. English Sand has decided, because we've added back section there, that she wants to have 5 kindergarten sections, and her numbers support that. Right now, they're looking at around 75 students total, so if she has 5 sections, it's about 15. And we know that we're going to be getting more over the summer as well. But everybody is looking about 15 to 16 students per classroom in kindergarten.
So when you say 17 and a half, are you thinking of those that we all know will come in over the next 3 months?
So this is what we have currently right now. So these are all the ones that we know that are coming to us currently, that have come in to register. But again, we will get more registrations,
Right.
but we will also have students who will move out. So I won't be able to move those students out until school is over, and I'm able to sort of finish up state reporting, we report our current numbers, and then when we roll over the student information system, then we'll be able to withdraw all those students. So the numbers will flush out a little bit, but I'm sure we'll be right at around that 17
Okay.
number.
Let us know if anything changes.
For sure, yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.
Is that did we get the grid? I feel like we've seen it before. Okay.
Yeah, I think that you'll get a
Oh,
copy
okay.
of this. I actually just gave it to Dr. Conti today,
no
so these are updated as of
Okay, I
today.
know.
Yeah, so again, it will fluctuate a little bit. We know that we still have appointments on the calendar. They'll be coming in, but I also want to caution that we will have students who will leave, so the numbers will really balance out.
Okay.
Historically.
And my question, quick, was you said the 40 students, that was not kindergarten, right? So like the 40 students are like 1 through 12?
Yeah, 1 through 12.
Okay.
Yep, exactly. So it's really spread out. The high school doesn't tend to do as many pre-enrollments as we do, because they tend to wait, because the way that they register is a little bit different, because they need those students to come in, meet with a counselor. So they don't do a lot of the pre-registering that we do with the other grades. But our office handles grades 1 through 8,
Okay.
and it includes all of those. I didn't also include the early childhood center, because again, they're sort of starting to enroll their new students, and they've done a lot of that. So I did not include those students as well. But they're starting to enroll their new students for the fall as well.
Since you brought that up, it's a lottery, right, for the BECC?
Well, it's not really a lottery. So we have neighborhoods. So we have the integrated preschool, where we have our students on our IEPs, and then we have our what we call our neighborhood students. And so Ms. Clark makes sure that she has enough spots for mornings and afternoons based on what the students' needs are. So it really isn't a lottery. They will fill the spots until they're done, and then
Okay.
they will have a waiting list. And I spoke with her probably last week, and I know that the morning spots for all grade 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds are full for the mornings, but she does have afternoon spots available for like sort of our neighborhood students. But she always has to leave a little bit of room for any students who come in with IEPs, and so she has to sort of figure that into her enrollment.
Okay. I was just curious about the growth and the wait list, over the years,
Yeah.
if our capacity is like limiting folks, and
I
you don't have
well,
to answer me, yeah.
No, I mean, it's hard to say. I know that, Department of Ed has been, over the past several years, looking at whether they're going to do a universal pre-K. We haven't gotten any guidance on that, and if that happens, then we really will have to look at a different model. But I think that right now, we do have a need for preschool, as parents come in later in the year when maybe some of those morning spots are filled up. We tend to give them a list of other local, facilities around. But, it's a tough one because, people have the need and there's only so much space that we have.
Yeah, go ahead.
Robin, when a child with early intervention turns 3, whether it's September or January or June, do they come into the program at that point?
They do, yeah. When they turn 3 and they've been found eligible for services, they will come into the BECC at that point.
So all throughout the year?
All throughout the year, yep, all throughout the year. We just had a couple of students that we made, active within the last week or so. So if they have been found eligible on their 3rd birthday, they will be able to come in. So that's why it becomes a little bit difficult, is because they need to save spots for those students, and you never know when they're going to come. So, I think they do a really good job down there of filling with our neighborhood kids, but also making sure that we have enough spots for the students that have the need as well.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Robin, thanks.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, our sports medicine team has arrived,
Excellent.
so I'd like to invite them up. Sean? Thank you all for coming. Madam Chair, this agenda item, I think, came from a conversation that we had, about, there were some questions because of an incident that had occurred in a different district. I think you had asked me what our practices were, and I just thought it was best to bring the folks who have to do the work and design the practice to come and talk to the committee directly. So, Sean, thank you.
Sure. Thanks, everybody, for having us. I want to introduce Kelly Melville and Abby Sleeper, both our sport med staff. Again, we've been lucky enough. Kelly's been here 4 years now, and Abby's on year 1 with us. So, again, fantastic that we have them both full-time on staff, both here in the building at all times when we need them. I mean, they come a little bit different schedule, a little bit of a flex schedule. They come in around noon time, between noon and 1, and then they're here until everything is done now until the end of the day, which is a phenomenal opportunity to have for us in the athletic department. Again, we saw some of the things that you guys saw on TV and things like that, and again, we talk about that kind of stuff all the time, but it's one of those catastrophic things that you can have all the plans in the world for, and you never are ready for those kinds of things. So we have a lot going on. I know that in the league right now, there are 12 schools in the league, and I think in conversation, there are 6 schools in our league right now that don't have a full-time athletic trainer. So there are games that are uncovered by different places when you go and things like that. So we're very fortunate. Even with 2 full-time trainers, we cover as much as humanly possible, but I would lie to you if I told you every single moment of every single day was covered. But again, very skilled, very trained. We have great relationships with Burlington Fire, with Burlington Police. They're here all the time. Their kids play for us, things like that. So again, we're very well versed in having great relationships with people who support us. Again, in the building of things, which you guys have all been part of, our new fields and things like that. Again, we are constantly trying to make sure that we're making the right choices for those situations. We joke, and I know I joked with Dr. Conti a little bit, but the one thing that we still struggle with here, and I know you guys have heard this for 100 years, is we can service kids and we can play games and we can start somebody's heart from stopping, but we can't wash our hands at a field. So when you think about all the things that we can do, think about the littlest things that we can't do. So I think that some of those things have been constants and things that we brought up. And I'll let Kelly jump in and she can kind of go over again. I know the concussion piece was a big piece in that particular scenario that people read about. And there was a lot more to it than gets reported. You know what I mean? We know those things. But I had, Kelly drew up some notes just to give you guys a quick rundown of some of the things we're doing. And before I even start that, is there a specific question or thing that you'd like to hear about before I go on? Because I'm going to have her read this over and give you a little bit of the protocols and policies that we have, just some coverage, but I don't want to answer a question. I want to answer a question that you have.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate the overview. I was just caught off guard by this particular incident. I think it was in Sharon, and many things went wrong, and they were not all on the part of any school or sports staff. There was medical errors and everything, but it just made me stop to think that, like, as a school committee, I want us to be comfortable that we have the policies in place to prevent whatever we can, not that everything's preventable. Some of it was definitely the concussion policies, the staffing of athletic events, the readiness of first responders, those type of things. So I just wanted us to be really comfortable that we have the right, and if you felt like we didn't have policies or staff in place, I'd love to hear that as well. So thank you.
Yeah, so I can talk a little bit about that. So I think the one thing you mentioned is key is prevention, right? So what Abby and I have come on, so I was the first full-time athletic trainer that you guys have hired, and I have loved every minute of it. I came from the college setting, so I was an athletic trainer at the college setting for 17 years. So it was a huge transition for me in getting used to kind of the secondary school setting, but I was able to bring that kind of set of skills and knowledge and kind of almost turn our department into a small college setting where we're there constantly. We have a staff of 2. This is unlike any of the high schools, the public high schools that you really see. We are very lucky to have 2. That way, when schools come here and our own kids, we're covering all of the varsity games. Our kids will go out to other schools and there's going to be no athletic trainer there. Unfortunately, that's just the climate of athletic training at this point in time. But again, when I came in, we have emergency action plans in place. We talk to the staff about emergency action plans. We have medical timeouts where all the staff on the field at the time knows what they're doing. Sean is able to staff our games, especially football and the high contact ones, with game administrators. They all know what to do and jump in when something happens. We have 3 AEDs that travel with us and will go to any of the games or practices that we're at. We are at all of the football practices, all of the contact. We're on site, and I think that's a big thing. As far as medical records, when you guys, your students come on and fill out Family ID and Arbiter, we review all of those medical records. I've tailored that over the years to give us a better view of what we're looking at, because I never want a coach to have a student on the team that has a medical condition that they don't know about. We need to know about that. So Abby and I review every single medical record, every physical that comes through, that makes sure that they do not have any type of thing that would preclude them or would need further evaluation. When it comes to concussions, it's tricky. It's a subjective injury. That's the big problem with concussions. It relies on self-reporting for the most part, right? It relies on an athlete saying, I don't feel right. We can see some signs, but again, if you're going to deny, there's nothing we can do. There's no testing. MRIs don't. There is nothing that we can do to definitively test. There's things in the works. They're trying to develop things. They've been working on them for years. Nothing's really come to fruition. So from that perspective, we review those. We review concussion history. We are on the sidelines physically. We are there every day. So a coach will come to us and say, he took a big hit. I don't know if he's concussed, but you need to check him out. And we have that open dialogue with not only the nursing staff, all of the coaches. They don't want it on them. So they're the first ones to call us and say, hey, Johnny got hit. He needs to just check in with you. So we have the follow-up care. So if we also have a great relationship with the other schools. So if they're away at an away game, the ATs will call us and say, hey, take a look at them. The nursing staff will call us if it's a non-sport related concussion. So the nursing staff will let us know if they get word of something. So it's a back and forth. We have notification systems in process. So if someone takes a hit and we're not deeming that a concussion yet, we're just kind of on watch, we will have a conversation with the parents. We will make sure that they know all of the danger signs and what to look for and when they need to follow up. So we have the systems in place to kind of make sure that all of our bases are covered, and we're acting from a prevention standpoint for those catastrophic things, because you never want, nobody, that's my biggest fear, is to have some type of catastrophic injury on the field. No one ever wants that. So that's part of what we do, is the prevention. We don't only treat those injuries, but we try to prevent them through monitoring, through preparation, through practicing emergency action plans, talking with our staff, education. We are medical licensed healthcare practitioners in the state. We go through and we do continuing education. Our coaches have to go through education in concussion annually. The parents do, the students do. What else? There's a lot. We do baseline testing. I could talk forever, so feel free to tell me to stop.
Stop.
We do baseline testing. That's the last thing. We just switched to Sway, which is an FDA-approved medical device on their phone. So that's baseline concussion testing, so we know what their brain is like normally.
And that's for concussions.
Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I always worry about hydration.
Yes. So hydration, another thing. So during football preseason, we talk to the athletes at the beginning. There's water out. There's water hooked up at the fields. Athletes will come and pick up water and bring them to their practices, especially when we get into those high heat situations. We're monitoring them. We have a heat monitoring system that we have. It's called a Crestel, so it tells us what the conditions are and what the dangers are. We will monitor, we will change things up. So if it's, say, football with equipment intensive, we will have either them remove the equipment and have a no equipment practice, or we'll move the time of day that the practice is happening. So we're constantly monitoring those hydration things. And there's all types of signs, especially in those non-heat related situations, where we're kind of just on top of making sure that they're all hydrated.
And again, because the injury happened in football, I think we were focused on that particular sport. And again, there's no difference in football, in field hockey, in volleyball, in boys ice hockey, girls ice hockey. The level of care is the level of care. The consistency is the consistency. And again, it doesn't, even our middle school cross country team, we have now tried to filter down to those kids what we can, because again, it's biting off time that we have to take away from the high school to make sure that we get to the middle school and things like that.
And our middle school athletes will come over too, because they get out at 2, so it's great. So they can actually get in before the high school athletes in, because they get a little intimidated. So it's great that we can offer that to them as well.
Nice. What would be a feedback mechanism if a parent had a concern over kind of a procedure, or wanted to request a different, an addition to a process or things like that?
So again, in the policies that we have now, the good part about, I say the good part, but it's all led from something that's happened. The communication with the parents is the first line for us in everything. So again, what ends up happening is that the level of care is so different from one injury to the next injury. To kind of link them all together would be kind of tough. So that's why these guys are so good at what they do. They're on the phone, they're having conversations. I would venture to say there are people that are sitting behind me whose kids have been helped by both of them and can tell you more about what the communication will look like between them than I could, because I take for granted that I have them all the time. But again, the conversations are, this is the injury, this is the care, this is what we're looking to do. This is a doctor must be seen. This is a don't worry about it, come see me tomorrow and we'll get you in the weight room, we'll get you in this room, we'll do something. So I think that the best part about the question is that if there was a major policy issue that we needed to change, we would make those decisions and bring them to you, and you would make those decisions. The level of care that they're giving right now is, again, customizable, so we don't try and overthink those things, because one ankle isn't the next ankle. They have to make those decisions, And those conversations are with the kid, the parent, the.
So
how
similar
we do
to like
business.
when you go to a pediatrician, when you take your kid and you have a concern, a medical concern, we bring that to the parent too, and we get their input, because we want everyone to kind of be involved. There are certain things, like he said, you have to go to the doctor. We can't go any further until we make sure that there's not a fracture, or there's not a concussion, or some type of situation. But we take a lot of things into consideration when it's just general injuries, right? Are they a senior? Are they a freshman? Is there another game that's more important? Do we need to sit them here to make them better here? So it's a conversation not only with the parent, the athlete, the coach, and just kind of coming together to formulate a plan, so everyone's kind of involved.
And we actually work in the reverse, because nobody ever gets hurt, because everybody wants to be back so fast. So it's actually us slowing them down to get them in the right spot, because, you know, you see injury and they're, I'm fine, as they're walking off with half a leg, you know what I mean? But that's what ends up happening. So you turn around and then these guys have to manage the expectation, which sometimes is the reverse. The parent wants the student back faster than they should be, so that, you know, we chase a doctor's note, or we, you know, again, we have to work it in the reverse most of the time versus the other, so.
Just one question that Ms. Passardo hit on, kind of want to get an answer to. Is there medical equipment for point of injury care or more grievous injuries that you need to make you more successful? Are there things you need that would enhance your abilities?
So there's always, so again, we're very lucky, stop. I can already hear you thinking about what you can ask for right now. But I think the conversation is there's always the next best thing, and we're always trying to moderate those things. I think that our training room has come a long way. We have done, I think that if anybody who's been to our training room, you would see that we have done a lot of more modern type things. So we're doing what we need to do. Obviously, we've been very lucky. We've been very supported. Athletics is very supported by this group. I would have no problem coming here and asking anytime, and I think you guys all know that. I think that to one of the things I brought up, and we talked about it at our budget meeting, was the fact that we have things in place that we're doing to monitor kids, but the level of coaching that we have here, and again, and I mean it in a safety kind of way as well, as we have to be, the way we run athletics is everybody has done the same thing. These are the coaches that we've had for 100 years, and I think at some point in this next go around, we're gonna have to have the conversation about, you know, a coach should never be alone with a group of students, because what happens is again, and not for the reasons I'm saying that, but because, you know, we're at a wrestling meet and my coach is at the wrestling meet, and we had a student athlete that was hurt. So now the coach has to make a decision, because they don't have a coach with them. Do I go with the kid, or do I stay with my team? And a coach should never be put in that position in any way. And we are very good at making sure that that doesn't happen. But I think there could be some more creative ways that we need to get around making sure that it never does happen. And again, it's a bigger conversation. I don't mean it to be brought up now, but it's a conversation that I think lends itself to this.
I think the other thing that we spoke about is potentially pairing up with other departments for more AEDs, access to more AEDs. Because it's not only the student athletes, but it's also our aging officials, right? We've had some instances, Watertown, where an official unfortunately passed away. An AED was used, so that wasn't an issue. But we do have some fields that are around town that don't have access. So that's something that we've also talked about, we've looked into with our distributor.
I think that's a Burlington thing, though.
Yeah.
Again, we've talked to Rec, Bob and I have had the same conversation. Just when you go around town, anywhere in a field that you're walking around in Burlington right now, you can't find an AED. There is no, you'd have to call 911, you know, and again, I think what you're seeing now in towns that are doing more in their parks and in their fields and things like that, they're building facilities where those things are housed, where people can get to them. Because again, when you need it, you need it. You don't want to call in somebody, wait for them to get there because you need it. So I think that we're building those things into our plans when we're building fields as well now. So I think that's part of our go around.
Okay.
Thank you. I have a question about communication with families. I assume you were using Parent Square to talk with families. Do you feel like it's meeting your needs? And how are you guys using it?
I think it depends on the parent. I've gotten responses immediately. Sometimes it's a couple days, and it depends on the level and urgency of my communication. If it's something that needs to be communicated immediately, I'm picking up the phone. If it's something that, hey, just kind of he, pulled his muscle, it's not that bad, I might send a parent square. But then if I don't hear back or I don't get a response, then I reach out in other ways. So it's kind of using it as a tool, but making sure that it's not an end-all, be-all, fail-safe. Making sure that immediate communication that needs to be had needs to be immediate, needs to be talked to, so that making sure that gets done.
And again, through the chair, are you using the forms piece of Parent Square to collect any medical information or?
No, it all goes through Family ID.
Okay, great, thank you.
Just two things. I was curious about baseline testing, and so you brought that up. Is that done for every athlete?
So in the past, it's been optional. We've tried to enforce it as mandatory for the collision sports. This year, we started doing it pretty early. We just got the program, I think, in December-ish. So we started implementing it for all the athletes, opening our flex time and having the athletes come in and not really giving them a choice if someone, because again, it's only one tool in the toolbox. I think there's some misconceptions with the use of baseline testing amongst some parents, not all parents. They think that it's going to keep them out. But in reality, it's only one tool. And that's why we get a baseline, because this baseline tells us how your child's brain works in a normal fashion, because your brain is different from your brain. So it's just one tool. If they fail, you can't really fail it. But if you don't do well on it, it's just one tool. It doesn't mean you have a concussion or not. We take into account all of the different diagnostics.
And is it used when someone who has had a concussion is ready to come back or thinks they're ready to come back? Do you then use the baseline to see if...
So we compare.
Yeah.
So we have the baseline, and then we'll do a post-injury, and then another one on return to make sure that they've returned to their baseline.
Right. And so that's the whole point of it. The only other question I have is about the turf and how in the hot weather it gets hot.
Yes.
Have you had any issues with that?
Sure. On those super hot days, the turf can get 15 or so degrees hotter. We'll sometimes move them to the grass. Again, we'll go early morning or later when the sun is down, so that's not as impactful.
But how do you judge when it's an issue?
We have temperature guns. I have a heat monitor. We just base it on the air temperature and such. Yeah. It's mostly the environment, too. It's not necessarily the turf. The turf does radiate heat, but if I put my monitor in the middle of that turf, that's radiating up and it's being monitored.
Is there any time that you've actually had a problem or an injury of any sort from hot turf?
We don't, again, I think to the
prevention.
Right. With our prevention and the way we have our policies, if we reach a temperature outside that we know is hot, and we can see that, again, we have those conversations with coaches all the time. Again, like lacrosse, even a couple of weeks ago, practiced a couple of days outside because it was the 2 hot days that we had, and so we ended up going at 6 o'clock in the morning rather than at 6 o'clock at night. You know what I mean? So again, we base everything off temperature. We try and get ahead of it by watching the weather report, but you all know the weather report around here is, you can't do anything with it. But essentially, what we would do is we have mediated times. So again, if it's super hot out, you can be on the turf for 45 minutes. You can't wear your pads. You can't do anything other than walk around, run around on it, but you can only be on it for a limited amount of time. If in that same temperature we moved you to the grass, you could practice for an hour and a half, but you can't wear your pads. If you needed to wear your pads, we wouldn't let you wear your pads. So we have a graduated scale on every surface we have, not just the turf.
All right, thank you.
And we are prepared in case there is a heat emergency. We have a polar pod, which is essentially a bag that the injured athlete suffering from heat illness would go in. We dump ice on them and bring down their temperature.
Oh, that must be fun.
So
find a local swimming pool.
Well, thank you for all the work. You've made a nice presentation tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah. You've answered all of my questions. Yeah. All right.
No, I just want to shout out to Kelly, who also spearheaded the first unified games in Burlington last month. So Kelly, so thank you for doing that on top of everything else.
Yeah, that was super fun.
They were awesome.
Thank you.
All right.
You're free to go.
No, I appreciate it. We have Big lacrosse game down at the field right now.
Good luck. Yeah.
So if anything bad happens.
Oh, okay.
Blame her. That wasn't nice.
All right, Dr. Chen.
All right. So Bobby, you have that, right? All right, so we're on the title page, and just wanted to let you know. Right there for right now. Thank you, Bob. For more information, please kindly see the website for the entire presentation. Before we begin the slideshow, I wanted to highlight the amazing work that our BPS teams are accomplishing this month. From the business and finance team, they worked on absence and substitute management system setup. The communication team finalized some safety maps with the company CRG. The English K through 8 team is in the process of unpacking the CKLA Amplify supplies and organizing them. The human resource team assisted the middle school principal with recruitment process for the assistant principal. The informational technology team finalized plans for staff, device refresh, and scheduled support days in each schools to provide assistance with backing up data on old devices. The nursing team worked on standing orders and protocols for next school year. The operations team attended multiple BHS work group meetings. The student information office team attended Aspen user group meeting regarding best practices and end-of-year reporting. And now for our slides. In slide 1, as you can see, these are pictures of the STEM days organized by Shireen Tyrell, the coordinator of Career Pathways, and our high school students working with our middle school students. We also see a picture of the flipped internship model in which our students are at a place working, the BHS graduates returning to Francis Wyman, and there we have the second annual grade 5 field day with sports events organized by Amy Doty, who is our director of health and wellness, and high school student volunteers. In our next slide, 2, we have the BH Athletics Award Banquet honoring our high school senior graduates. And again, Kelly was instrumental in putting that together. Francis Wyman, Amy Kucha, putting together the art show with her students. The first annual Kindness Day event at Burlington Commons, partnering with the Help Us organization. And we have Sita Durvasula, the instructional coach at the middle school, leading a workshop on sense of belonging for all students. And then in the next slide, this is just to let folks know, this information will be forthcoming, but we are offering this summer an Algebra 1 boot camp for students who are interested in brushing up on our key Algebra 1 skills. These could be students who are entering in geometry honors or are about to go into Algebra 2. In week 1, it's going to be online from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. from July 14th to July 17th. In week 2 from July 22nd to July 24th online, on week 3 from July 28th to July 31 online. And the exciting thing for this is that this is free. Let me say this again, this is free for students who are interested and just wanting to brush up on some key Algebra 1 skills. And as you can see what the different days will focus on, and those are the key topics that are covered in Algebra 1. Again, it's just a boot camp to refresh some skills. In our next slide, and also in that Algebra 1 boot camp, the curriculum has been written. I want to thank Katie Whitcomb for that, but also that I'm in the process of interviewing teachers, and it's very exciting because this is going to be run with teachers that are math certified who have also taught and had experience in teaching Algebra 1 all the way to calculus. And in slide 4, thank you to Superintendent Eric Conti, School Committee member Chris Monaco, and Principal Mark Sullivan in attending and honoring students at the Junior Book Awards. In our next slide, in slide 5, again, we have career exploration. Students are learning about science, data, and artificial intelligence careers in it. High school graduates are visiting Pine Glen Elementary School, and we have mentors involved with our students in building drones. In our next slide, and slide 6, you have there middle school 6th grade students who read 5 or more Massachusetts Children's Book Award books were invited to the Learning Commons for a special voting event. Thank you to the leadership of Dennis Villano, the Director of Technology Integration, and all to our teacher librarians as well too. Digital learning coach Aaron Guanci has extended 4th grade computer science lessons, coding, and exploring different types of triangles and preparation for MCAS. And then there you also have pictures of the 8th annual Middlesex Math Madness Tournament. It was a success. We had over 24 teams from across Massachusetts. Burlington student Frank Schau from Memorial in grade 5 finished in 3rd place out of 125 students. The top 10 Burlington team winners out of 24 teams were Pine Glen, who tied for 5th place, middle school 8th place, Francis Wyman in 9th place, and Memorial in 10th place. And appreciate math lead coach Carrie Fortunato and all of the elementary math specialists for hosting this particular session on a Saturday. Next, in slide 4, we have the LPAC Adult ESL Class End of Year Celebration Dinner. Attendees representing diverse cultural backgrounds brought food from around the world to share. A special thank you to Principal Nicole McDonald for attending the event, and to Carrie Lamprey, the Director of English Learner Education. In another picture, grade 1 tide pool exploration. It was a beautiful day with the leadership of Wendy Pavlicek and Sean Musselman and our parent chaperones, and exploring the tide pools with grade 1 students from Francis Wyman. And then also on this slide, the BPS team facilitated community-wide kindness May celebration on Sunday, May 18th, in partnership with Help Us. Thank you to Gloria Waltasic, Director of Family and Community Engagement, and also to Joyce Delianis of Help Us. And finally, in the next slide, 8, we have a picture of the 2nd grade at the Mill Pond Reservoir Habitat field trips completed by all 4 elementary schools. Students collected data to compare and contrast 2 local habitats in the vernal pool and the field. Thank you again to Sean Musselman and Wendy Pavlicek. And again, thank you to Kelly. And we also later on, but here, Director of Special Education, Christina Ciccolini, and Superintendent Conti participated in Lab Special Olympics. And then in the next slide, in slide 9, thank you to all members of the school committee and to our students recognizing our staff, and also to Kelly with the Director of Special Education. We had our first unified games for elementary middle school students. Volunteers were from the BHS Best Buddies program, helped to make the event a success. And finally, in our final slide, as School Committee Chair Melissa Maserata said, graduation was a huge success. Thank you to Principal Mark Sullivan, Melissa Maserata, and Superintendent Eric Conti, to our staff, and to our parents and caregivers for their partnerships. We had 235 graduates, and as you can see, 1 scooter making a difference in the lives of our children and always paying forward. That Scooter right there, Scooter used to work in the high school. He was one of the service dogs, a very, very sweet lab, but he has since then been adopted, and he's very chill that I thought at first he was a fake dog, not a real dog. All right, but anyways, that's my report.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have a question for you. The Algebra 1 boot camp, who's running that, or is that someone internally? Is there some sort of?
Yes, so we're going to have it. That is going to be. I'm in the process of hiring folks, so I'm finalizing. I've got 2 more interviews, but I think the exciting thing is we had a whole bunch of people apply to it. It is. Once I finish on Wednesday, I can tell you, but for sure it is. There are some internal candidates very interested, and so very excited about the pool that we have. Good. And because it's online, I wanted to try it online. Really had some of my Virginia colleagues also reached out to me, the ones I've worked with who have taught Algebra 1 and also geometry in the middle school. They reached out. They also were very interested. It's always nice to hear from colleagues in your past, but we also have Burlington faculty members who are very interested.
If you can give us, through the chair, an update,
I promise to give you an update that once it happens. And I'm going to launch something out because we intend to have 25 students per each session, and I have the opportunity maybe to have four sessions, so up to 100 students. But we're going to make it happen no matter what, 15 and then up to 25, and it's going to be online. It's going to be from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. in the morning. That way, if students, it can be in the privacy of their own home. They're learning, doing whole group and small group instruction, and just getting tutored on skills that will help them with Algebra 2 moving forward.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. You have a question?
Yeah. Is the purpose of this, is it to prepare for Algebra 2, or is it to help some of the students going from Marshall Simons into geometry?
It is opened to everyone.
Both.
To
Okay.
both.
That's great.
It is opened up to both. But I think that I've also heard, when I was working on this program and wanting to offer it to all students, right?
Yeah.
That I've also heard from some high school teachers that have students who have said, oh, this person came to me, and this would be a really great opportunity for the student to brush up on their Algebra 1 skills who's going to Algebra 2. So really, I wanted to try this kind of like as a pilot, because ultimately the goal, and Dr. Conti and I have talked about this, is we really want to continue to offer some sort of summer camp skills, but to increase it and grow it and make it even bigger and more and more sessions, because we do have kids who love math. I love math, and we just want to ensure that people continue to love math. And how wonderful if we could offer something instead of having kind of people go to Russian school, that we kind of offer something like that for our students instead. So it's always been a dream of mine, but I want to grow it slowly and take feedback from both the students and the parents and the teachers, and just watch it grow and move it forward.
Great. I'm glad you're doing it.
Megan?
I think it's a great idea, and I'm really happy to see this program started. So I just want to thank you for bringing it forward to us.
Got it. We did it like face-to-face, but I want to try it now online, because I think that flexibility, and especially having it like parents can choose either that. There's 3 different weeks to choose from. I know that people usually go on vacation, so I'm just hoping that that's going to touch on one of that.
Awesome. Finance update. Cool.
Changes over the prior month. You'll discuss the expenses located here in all of our.
Awesome. Are you giving the food service? Oh, who's giving food service? All right, come on up. Nicole, if you're gonna also speak, I can't really hear you out of that mic. I don't know if you want to.
You know what? It's my fault because I turned it off. I'm sorry. And that would help, and I needed.
We're not supposed to touch them.
Oh, I'm sorry. I touched it.
Touched it twice. I wrote that down.
Bob's counting. Hi, Bob.
Nicole, are you going? You go. Is this on?
Is it the light on?
Is it green?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. You go. You want me?
Again, Madam Chair, I can start. We were asked to put together some numbers for the for our food service performance, given what Whitson's had sort of committed to, what we're actually experiencing. Carrie Noki is our liaison with Whitson's, and sort of wanting to give her the opportunity to speak directly with the committee about what her feelings are, and whether the value that was sold is what we're experiencing here in the district. So we wanted to look at it both from a sort of a live day-to-day perspective, and also from a numbers perspective. So you have both this evening. So with that, Nicole, maybe we'll do the numbers first?
Yeah, sure. So in your package, you received a summary sheet with some backup that showed
each year that, since we've had Whitson's in 1 year, or a period prior to Whitson coming on. And then it gives us all of the participation rates. And if you, the following pages in the backup gives you by month per school. So you have all of the total breakfast and lunch sales, as well as the enrollment that pertains to those months. So you can see the participation rates for both school lunch and breakfast on those sheets. Per contract, I think we have, I think the participation minimum was 50%, so we are meeting those by contract. I know that when Whitson's came out and gave us like like sort of their presentation, it might have been even after they came on, they were sort of showing us sort of other districts nearby where they were working in, and those participation rates were a little bit higher than the ones that we're seeing here
A lot
now.
higher.
But they are meeting their contractual obligation. I think that we were just sort of maybe dazzled a little bit by surrounding communities in their presentation and how much higher those participation rates were.
So I'm actually just here to answer any questions if anybody has any. We created this and they were looking for the numbers, and then Bob asked me to come to just answer any questions if you guys had any.
May I comment? Yeah, so I was going to say, I was looking at all the numbers, and, I mean, when you look at everything, there was really only a 1.1% increase in breakfast participation and a 0.5% increase in the lunch participation across all the years. And to me, is it really worth it? You know, again, I thought, you know, from what we were spoken about and presented, it was going to be a much larger participation increase. And I think the first year, maybe, you know, everything jumped, but to me, it seems it has gone downhill since then, or hasn't really, I guess, it just hasn't come to what they had presented and what promised, in my mind.
I agree.
And I also think that there was a more variety of food available the first year, and from what I understand, that's also changed quite a bit over the past.
gone, yeah.
So I just feel like there's a lot that, as far as quality and quantity, that just hasn't come through.
Yeah, I totally agree. The breakfast has increased since previous, but I actually think that it's with the universal free lunch and the way that the kids are coming in, they tend to come in as like groups now, the rooms come in together. I feel like the process is just better, so that's why I think the numbers have gone up. The lunch counts are, middle school is really the only one that has benefited dramatically. Other numbers, I feel like they're pretty much the same.
I think it's a 31, an average of 31 students for the breakfast per, when you average across all the schools.
Exactly.
It's up, right, it's not a lot, but it's up.
Yeah.
My question was, I think you had provided in the past, like the dollars, because I think that, to me, was the big, one of the, beyond, I mean, the participation was kind of the mechanism that they were supposed to use to help us meet the positive, right? They had committed, guaranteed dollar commitments. So do we have that kind of tracked, like how much we lost money in some years, right, on school lunches, and we're in the black now?
Not under Whitson's, we haven't lost money.
Correct. But that was the kind of the impetus for this, is that they guarantee that we make money, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Madam Chair, the hard part about that analysis for us is that I think the free lunch, the reimbursable lunches and breakfasts that are being provided now. Okay. So I think that's kind of the pre-Whitson's and Whitson's comparison difficult. So there were years when we were losing money when we weren't getting, the state wasn't providing lunch and breakfast. So that is absolutely true. But since the state is providing lunch and breakfast, looking at the participation numbers, and again, in terms of what Carrie has reflected to me in terms of ordering, which I think you're doing most of the ordering already, that the financial model would hold, whether it's Whitson's doing the financial model or the state continuing to do that. If the state ever withdraws support for lunch and breakfast, I think that changes the formula significantly. So sort of approach this from we absolutely needed to make sure we weren't losing money, which I think was the right reason for looking at Whitson's. Whitson's sold a very good product, which I think for the first month or two, they really made an effort. I think they've, like our transportation companies in the last few years, have acquired many of their competitors, so they've grown significantly. And it just seems like, in speaking with Carrie, we are supplementing lots of the work, and the financial risk is much different now than it was prior to the Whitson's conversation. So again, if the participation rates had increased by 25% or 10% or something like that, I think it'd be a much different model. I think they also promised in some of their materials giveaways and, more flashy events, and I think those haven't occurred. So I just think it's time for us to sort of recalibrate this relationship, and I'm not sure in our conversations with Whitson's they wouldn't say the same thing. So I just think it's a different landscape than when we made this decision. I do think it was the right decision at the time, and things have really completely changed in the food and breakfast and lunch programs, given that the state is providing refunds for those meals, at this time. And so there's been a lot of turnover in management. So I've gotten some complaints from some of the staff. I think, Carrie, you feel like you're training new Whitson's managers pretty regularly. So again, that was sort of the day-to-day that I'm hearing about. I respect the work that our cafeteria workers do and that Carrie does. I don't know it firsthand, obviously, but it seems like financially we can make it work, and again, I'm not sure the management value or the training value or having the chefs on site have actually panned out the way that they were initially sold to us.
Carrie, you're there all the time. Why is it you're training their people?
I don't know. Well, so when they had a woman come in at the beginning, she ended up leaving, and then they had Brian come in. He was kind of new to food service, so it was just the staffing. Like Dr. Conti said, they're turning over new people, and the staffing was just not what they promised. So it was people that needed direction.
I remember the sales pitch, the marketing, and it was really fancy and special. And so right from close to the beginning, I have grandkids in the elementary schools, and I know one of them was every single day was having cereal for lunch, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, which I think is a problem. My kids, I wouldn't want them to have breakfast and lunch with cereal. So and that is a go-to.
Yeah, and another thing that the quality, I understand, like some of the schools, the middle school and high school maybe, and I don't know. I mean, I don't hang out in the cafeterias, but they have in those schools some of the high-quality cold cuts.
Yes, yep.
But they don't have them at the elementary schools. Why is that?
They said that wasn't in their budget to do the elementaries. They only focus on the high school and a little bit of the middle school.
Oh.
Yeah.
So if we didn't have Whitson's,
yes,
would we have any way to improve the elementary lunches?
Oh, I think I would, yeah. I mean, I get that they have to say they're trying to budget and save money, but we have so much waste. We could order more efficiently and get better quality than get as much as we get and waste it. Yeah.
One other thing, and this is kind of gross, but at one point, maybe a year ago, I heard that they were using food from the high school freezer that had been there from before they started. Is that accurate, inaccurate?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know about that. It could have, but I don't know about that. When they first started, they did use whatever was up in there, but they could have. I don't know. Maybe.
Is there a problem, Bob would know, is there a problem with food staying too long in the freezer at the high school?
Sorry, so through the chair. So most foods have a expected shelf life if they're maintained frozen. So beef and chicken, et cetera. I don't think many people would like to see something 2-3 years old. But if you were to freeze beef and keep it for a few months, that would be acceptable by FDA standards. Anything past that, I think we would have concerns about.
But are we careful about it? Does Whitson's go in and throw it out?
Again, they do to some degree.
Yeah.
I can't tell you on every single item. So there is a protocol, and they do go in and look at them, and they do try to do last in, first out, like when they can.
Yeah, we date the boxes and first in, first out. First in, yeah.
Okay, well, that's my input.
Right?
I do have one question.
Yeah.
So are we ordering or are they ordering?
They're ordering. They order the food and they do the menu, and then I do everything else in the department.
Okay. Is that per their contract? Like, so they're fulfilling the contract?
I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And so we feel that if we ordered and did the menu, we'd be able to increase participation?
I think so. Definitely.
And would we need
For an example, I'm sorry to cut you off.
Okay.
The reimbursements, as of right now, we have like a little more than 1.6 million in reimbursements that we get.
Okay.
From federal and state. And then like the food was probably about like 48,000 as of right now. 481,000, and then like 46,000 for paper. That's how much we've spent. And then we spend about 180 right now, thousand in Whitson's, just the management fee and everything.
Okay.
I feel like put that back into better quality food.
Okay. Catherine?
Yeah, I was going to say, Dr. Conti did touch a little bit, again, when you have a service that you're paying for, you want consistent management.
Right.
And, I think that's other thing I was going to bring up, that I knew that the first person who came in, there was kind of a personality issue, and there was some turnover there, and the fact that there's not been a consistent person since then, it's really hard when you should have, I'll call it an account manager or a business relationship, that they feel that you're important enough that they put somebody in who's going to stay. Yeah. So if, let's say, they had someone who was consistent in Lexington who'd been there for 3 or 4 years, maybe you pull that person in and put them over in Burlington to make us feel good and stay. And I don't feel like we were important enough for them to care. So that's another reason that I kind of don't feel that they fulfilled what they promised.
Right.
Megan?
Thank you. So I did a little bit of research, and I found the meeting minutes from a February 8th subcommittee meeting with the school subcommittee and the Ways and Means Committee. And I saw projections that Whitson's presented that they were going to be bringing in quite a bit more money than it seems they're actually bringing in a 3-month period. And what I'm seeing, comparing the numbers that Nicole has sent us, that the money that they anticipated through increased participation is not there. And it seems like the quality of the food that they're then sending to our students has decreased because of that. And it doesn't, to me, when I hear that there's a $180,000 management fee and the amount that we're getting from reimbursement, it doesn't make sense to me why we have very capable people in our cafeterias that work very hard to serve our students, and I think you all deserve a chance to run the cafeteria and spend the money.
Yeah.
One thing we talked about previously is the app and the allergies and all that. So we would have to purchase and license an app, right?
For the food, like the menu?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Do we have any idea of how much that costs?
I don't have that fee.
Okay. And would we need to hire a director?
I'm assuming, yes, we need to hire a director and probably have some support, but I think we could do that within the financial model that currently exists. We'd have to watch it closely, and, you know, and if the state ever withdrew their funding or something changed, we would look at it. I think the agreement with town, which was in place, again, before the Whitson's switch, was, I think, would still be in place, and that's if the cafeteria revolving account ends the fiscal year in a negative balance, that we have to make up the negative balance before we sort of start the new fiscal year. So, because I think over some point historically it had accumulated over many years, again, prior to me. So I think that was always the deal. So we watched that account pretty closely.
That's a law, not an agreement with town.
It's an agreement.
It's a law.
Yeah.
Go. That too.
Well, why was it allowed to accumulate before? The law was different then?
No, probably just didn't get picked up on maybe by the auditors or something.
Okay, so-
But it ends up reducing your free cash for the following year.
So, so I think that's why the agreement was that, and we would obviously have to honor it, but we would watch it fairly closely, but feel what the management fee is now, we could more than afford the staffing that we would need and the software that we've used before. Bob, is that correct? We used to have the menu and the...
Yeah, we did have a
Yeah,
software
we were.
online, viewer that we used before, and I don't know if that's the same exact one that we would look at again or another one.
I know this one got good feedback for the allergies, like you could filter, like my student has X allergy, and then it would show you which meals. So I definitely think we need that function. I don't think we had that before.
We
But-
did.
Oh, we did?
I'm
Oh,
sorry,
okay.
yeah, we did have it. I preferred that one better. This one is you can't customize. I watch him, when they would do the menus, it's not customizable. So some of the things that you're seeing, it's not accurate. The allergens and everything are not accurate. I would recommend somebody to look at the label themselves.
Okay, you're telling me that allergens are not accurate in the app?
Well, some of them.
Okay, can we address that
Yeah.
immediately? please?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we do on, when it happens, it is addressed.
Okay,
So,
good.
Through the chair, I know that the managers of each cafeteria work diligently to make sure that the food
Oh, they do.
is, that's presented to the students does not contain the allergens, and they work outside of their contract hours to do that as well. They work
Yes, they do.
very hard.
they
workers,
definitely do.
yes.
Yeah. That, when I say that it doesn't match, if it doesn't match and it comes to our attention, we see that, we have to fix it, but it does happen. That's where I don't like that software as much as the one we used to have.
What is the terms of this rest of this contract?
We have one more year.
You have another question?
May I get a chance?
Oh, sure.
Sure.
Sorry.
So I think we're dancing around whether we're going to keep a food service contract or not. So I think maybe move the conversation forward. We do a cost comparison. So we got into this situation before because we were losing money. So if we're going to hire a new director, absorb that overhead, I need a proposal on how we're going to maintain the cost savings we've seen now with a new model going back to the way it was. And then we compare that to other vendors, and then we make a decision there.
Yep.
Can we break the contract? What are the rules about that?
I believe there's a clause that we can cancel without cause with 60 days advance notice.
Okay, thanks.
Written.
So we don't have to wait a year?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Then I'd like to make a motion that we terminate Whitson's contract with us. Because at this point, I don't see any value in what they're doing. And I think, you have a good concept of the finances, and I think Bob and Carrie have kind of told us that they have a good concept. I mean, I know you'd like to see things concrete, but I think that there's enough information, general information, that we can terminate the contract comfortably if, just like make that motion.
Shouldn't it be concrete? Shouldn't,
Second.
I would like to see the numbers and so are we paying 180,000 and what we think the director plus staff plus app would cost. And go ahead, Nicole.
So the admin and management fee for this year was $82,255.
Oh, only 82. Oh.
Yeah.
So we think we can hire a director and staff and an app for 82,000. I'd love to see those dollars.
Well, there's the management fee also.
That's not the management fee?
That's admin and management together, $82,255.
180 is the payroll of the Whitsons as well.
So what are we paying the 100 then? See, I'd love to just see this more broken out, and what we're going to replace this with. And then, again, I would just still like to see, like, we were in the red, and I understand the reimbursement's different, but I just want to see the revolving account before I don't not support it, but I would love to see that before I vote. You good?
So if we have 60 days, then, and we're in June, then we don't have time to wait around. If the motion passes to cancel the contract, then all of this needs to be put together relatively quickly, right? And have you, Dr. Conti, have you started to put this together? Are you comfortable with canceling the contract at this point in time?
Am I comfortable canceling the contract? I am, because of everything that's been told to me. Carrie and Bob and Nicole and I have spent lots of time discussing sort of what's going on, what's happening, what are we doing, what are we paying for. So I think that we will certainly not see any sort of drop off, and I've been told that we can actually do a better job. So that's kind of where my position's at. Again, I don't spend a whole lot of time analyzing the food services that we provide. I would expect them to work. And again, I would have liked to see greater participation and
better food
and more consistency. I don't have any issue. I don't interact with Whitson's very much at all. So, but I do interact with Carrie. I know Carrie basically manages the 6 schools. Whitson's doesn't venture out into really any other school but the high school at this point. So we really have almost a parallel management structure. So I think that's sort of been a frustration for me. If they're going to manage, I wanted them to sort of manage, and that really hasn't happened. But again, to Mr. Brooks's point in terms of could we create a department and a department budget relatively quickly, I think we can, and I think we can probably bring it to you ahead of the next 24th. I think would be our next meeting, and then we would need to get on some purchasing consortia. I don't exactly know how it works. I think that we were having these conversations. I think you signed us up early, so.
Yeah, so with some of those consortiums, you have to participate before they go out for their pricing. You can't join after the fact to be in compliance with laws. And where we knew that this was coming before the committee, we wanted to make sure that we jumped on one of those. I think it was around $1,600 to make sure that we were covered if the committee decided to go in that direction.
So I think we're prepared, but we can certainly bring forward a proposal. I didn't know the motion was going to be made, so we can certainly bring a proposal with all of that in, but I don't believe we would be at risk for losing money given the current environment in which we operate. And I do think we're doing a lot of the management work that Whitson's had committed to do that we have sort of taken over. Many districts don't have Carrie's position sort of as a liaison there, and if that were to be the case, our other schools really wouldn't have gotten any direction or attention or anything. So I feel like we're supplementing the management that we're supposedly paying for now. So I think we can put something together quickly for you.
Cheyenne has a question. And I see it online too, so go ahead.
Thank you, Mrs. Chair. I think this is something the Ways and Means Subcommittee should review once your numbers are finalized.
Sure. Nikki, can you unmute?
Hey there. Thank you for this conversation. I just saw this on the agenda and thought I would ask. I have, it's not directly related to Whitson's, but it is about food cost and reimbursements from federal and state level. Dr. Conti, you mentioned that if the state stops reimbursing, if the federal reimbursements stop coming, I was speaking with somebody in a neighboring community this weekend who mentioned that the quality of their food has gone down in the last month or two due to state reimbursements being decreased because federal reimbursements have been decreased. Is that something we have seen as a district or expect to see as a district?
I'm going to have to.
Nicole said no.
Nicole, phone a friend, so.
There hasn't been any change in the last few months for reimbursements.
Hasn't been any change in reimbursements, but Carrie, have you noticed the quality over the last few months declining because food prices are up and the reimbursements have remained either consistent or
The
declined?
reimbursements have remained the same, actually maybe even a little higher. Food quality, it has gone down, but not price-wise. I think it's just more of a, they're ordering less quality food and more of it.
Madam Chair.
Yeah, sure.
So the motion has been moved and seconded. I would actually move to postpone until we get that information on the meeting of the 24th.
I'm sorry, I just want to make sure I answered the question. So, Ms.
We're not seeing it.
Ms. Cadillac, so again, I don't believe the reimbursements have declined according to my staff, and food quality seems to be at this point a choice of lowering the quality that the company is purchasing. So I'm not sure we would say we had the same experience of the person you spoke to in the other district.
Thanks for that. That helps.
Okay. I'm sorry, Mr. Brooks. I didn't mean to.
Nope, all good.
I don't know if you can make a motion to postpone the motion. Do you want to withdraw the motion?
Sure. But if we don't move to postpone,
okay.
I think we understand where this is going to go, and I'm not ready to make a decision right now without more information.
Agreed.
Clement?
But I can
Yes.
withdraw the motion if you'd like.
Not you, I meant the original motion.
I understand the need and the desire for all of the facts and numbers and all of that, and I don't disagree with that, but I'm very concerned about the timing. And I don't think that it's very likely based on what we've heard. And I know Nicole and Dr. Conti and Bob have put a lot of effort into this, previewing it, or they wouldn't have gone out and hired a food distribution service or enrolled in one. So if the motion goes to the floor, I'm going to vote for it because I don't think there's anything to gain by waiting, and I think by waiting, we might get too close with the 60 days, and I don't want that to happen.
All right, and the motion's on the floor unless someone withdraws it. Anyone? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
I am also opposed. Motion passes 3-2. I'd still love to see the numbers.
I would too.
Yeah.
We'll still put it together?
Yeah, good.
Yep. I don't think I have a Fox Hill School Building Committee update because we haven't met since the last school committee meeting.
It's all coming along great, though,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yep. We are on track. There'll be another cost estimate in July.
And as far as the high school,
Excuse me, just, Madam Chair, just, I wanted to drag Bob into this conversation again, so just, I'm sure he has to sign something, and then I'll drag him in, but the Fox Hill has gone before some of the town subcommittees. So, Bob, I know that they went before Planning Board and they've gone before Conservation. Is that correct?
Sorry. Yes, that is correct. And I know that for a fact, I have witnessed it twice at both meetings, that the planning department, the planning committee and planning staff have commented how graciously they appreciate the work that Doran Whittier has done on the Fox Hill project, how prepared they've been, their binders that they've created, and their attention to details when they show up to these meetings, even their responses to questions when they show up at the next meeting. So that has been praised multiple times. So I just wanted to make sure that this committee was aware of that effort.
And there was a vote at planning, wasn't there? Was it last week or 2 weeks ago?
Correct, there was on Thursday night, and it was unanimous.
Unanimous support of the Fox Hill project moving forward?
Correct.
So again, that was real progress, and again, the level of, they're setting a very high bar for TAP A if we get to that point with the high school. So I think the feedback from the other boards, as Bob has said, has been very positive. Again, about the design, about the information, and about the communication.
I will second the communication, since we meet with them and talk with them very frequently.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yep.
So over the last couple of weeks, we've also met with a lot of different community members. We've met with Ways and Means, Select Board, and Land Use. And our next meeting is this Thursday, the 12th, in this room at 6:30 p.m.
Tell them about the support.
The what?
The support.
Oh, yes. Yeah, well, Ways and Means, yes, is supporting the project. The Select Board was very supportive in our meeting last night. People would like to see how we can get the community involved and aware of the project. We're coming up with ways to communicate, either through, Parent Square, just kind of getting word out to all the elementary school parents and I'll say middle school. I think it's the 7th graders that will, if this project goes through and the debt exclusion goes through, they'll be the first set of students who will be in the high school all the way through. But we need to have some parents getting involved to advocate for the debt exclusion. We, as a committee or as boards, can't really do that. So we need other outside groups to do that. So we're looking for volunteers for that as well.
Nikki, is your hand still up, or you have another question?
I think she.
No, just forgot to lower it.
Yeah, no worries.
Again, Madam Chair, I think some of the timing that was discussed at Ways and Means and the Select Board was Doran Whittier believes we would have pretty firm pricing in place by the middle of August, with enough time to take the project before town meeting in September. And then one of the things for the debt exclusion election that was discussed was having a special election in town. Sort of the date that was floated was November 15th, which would be the sole item on the agenda. Only the Select Board can determine if there's a special election, so that decision has not been made, but that was one of the timelines that was discussed. So from a planning perspective of this committee, and again, unlike the Fox Hill, we have a building committee through the MSBA, which is empowered. The high school is really, this is the decision-making body for the high school moving forward. That's seems like a long time, but it's not a long time to have the project sort of through feasibility. And once we have those prices and we present to town meeting, that really marks the end of feasibility. So that would be the completion of the feasibility process for the high school. So So I think that was what was discussed. But the building-based decisions rest here, and then the timing of the warrant before town meeting and any special election sort of rests with the Ways and Means and the Select Board.
If there are any fourth grade parents out there watching, if it was all to go according to the current schedule, the current fourth graders would be the first group to go all the way through the new building.
Seventh graders with senior year, I think, would be in the high school.
Right, just the senior year.
Yep.
Facilities.
Sorry? Bob?
Thank you. I presented you all with a list of some projects. This is just part of the conversation. Of course, the custodians will be working throughout the summer to get the buildings ready for the start of school. A lot of these are really preparation. We're seeing some lead time of about 4 to 6 weeks on a lot of these items. So that's going to push some of our work into, the end of summer, beginning of the school year. I can read most of these or all of these for you and people at home. So at BHS, we'll be ordering the athletic scoreboards that were approved at town meeting. That's in the rubber gym, the wooden gym, and on varsity field. You'll see begin network refresh on all of the schools. That's because of, again, a warrant article to do our network refresh. So we're trying to finalize those orders as well, too, so we can get those equipment in to start the install. At the middle school, we'll be looking at auditorium bathroom renovations in the A and B wing. We'll continue 2 field designs, and we will order furniture for the library, again, a warrant article approved this year. At Pine Glen, we're looking at refreshing some doors and hardwares throughout the building, and boiler room projects, part of a warrant article, and the BMS, which is Building Management System, and pump installation, which is a Green Communities grant and warrant article as well. At Memorial, we'll be looking at sidewalk pad replacements. Those are those yellow bumpy sidewalk pads for the crosswalks. Those have not held up well over time, in about 12 years, so we'll be replacing about 5 of those there. At Francis Wyman, we're looking at some new floors and painting in some classroom bathrooms in the K-wing. Design work, which we met today for the vestibule. We also have a Green Communities grant and warrant article, the BMS, Building Management System and pump installation. And at Fox Hill, we'll be renovating some gym offices, some offices in Pod 4, and as I mentioned, the network refresh. So busy summer, as always, for the maintenance crew and custodial staff. I also need to thank the clerical office as well, too, and clerical employees, because they'll be supporting the buildings throughout the summer, getting orders in, getting the building ready as well. So a lot of work happens during the summer.
Thank you. Any questions?
Through the chair, what is the install date or the completion date, the anticipated date for the athletic scoreboard at the high school?
Again, good question. So we haven't actually placed the orders yet because it's a July 1 conversation for the funding, but we're trying to work on those quickly. They're about 6 to 8 weeks on the outside scoreboard, and then we have to schedule installation. They're about 4 to 6 weeks on the interior scoreboards. So again, all depending upon, once the POs are ready, orders are placed, and then we can actually get them in-house, and then installation as well, too. So I'd love to tell you, I promised before the start of school, but until we actually place the orders, I can't give you some real answers. But I'll give you more updates, as I work through the summer.
Great, thank you.
All good. You can just roll right into transportation.
Transportation. So I guess I should at least start by saying I need to thank the DPW because they have been great communicating to myself, other members of the town departments, and the bus company about any paving projects that they have going on and any concerns with Cambridge Street. So thankfully, we've had minimal delays due to construction. We did have 2 issues this week that definitely need to be addressed. I have spoke to the company about them. One was due to staffing, and so that was a great way to come back from the weekend, and 5 members had called out on their driving team, and once they pulled enough staff, we were short 1 driver, so there was about a 20-minute delay on one of those buses. Kind of tough to predict that, as our contract really has 2 additional staff and 1 extra bus. 2 extra buses as far as that, but 5 is tough to accommodate. And then they did the best they could, just not to our standards. And then 2 days later, we had a bus breakdown that needed a replacement on the scene, so that also caused an additional delay. So we tried to get messages out as quickly as we are aware of them, so we are sorry for any inconvenience. But we are trying to communicate as best as we can and keep the company accountable. We have kept a record of any issues or concerns this whole entire year, which we will be addressing on the end of the year with the bus company for any delays or penalties that may have been occurred. In addition to, there is a transportation survey that we do send out every year. This is in front of you all. Definitely feedback is welcome. I'm not planning to send this out today, but I would like to send this out multiple times. What I typically do is allow this to run for 2 weeks, usually towards the beginning of the summer, and then I would send another one in August as well. And what we do is what we're really looking for is the no's. We are anticipating that all children will be riding the bus, but there are some families that choose to not ride the bus. So anyone who indicates a no, we can readdress that later on in the year, but for when we're rooting in the beginning of the summertime, those no's, we will remove them from any of the bus stops. Anyone who doesn't reply to the response is automatically a yes, and anyone who replies yes is a yes. So there is no failure where if somebody doesn't respond that we don't provide them transportation. So again, we're trying to focus on the no's. So what we don't do is during the first 2 to 3 weeks of the school year, we go to stops that don't have students on there and continue to go to those stops and then make those adjustments. So if we can eliminate some of those adjustments earlier in the year, we can fine tune quicker on the start of the season.
So I think it's a relatively straightforward survey. The committee is sort of a standing no surveys vote, so we also wanted to put this in front of you and ask you to make an exception for the transportation survey for this particular survey, nothing else, so that we feel we can send it out. Bob, when did you say you needed to send it out by?
I typically like to send it either on the last week of school or I'll wait till after the 4th of July week. So that's typically when I would send out the first one. Again, roughly run for 2 weeks, and then I would send out a second one in the beginning of August.
So if you're uncomfortable doing that tonight, I know you just saw the survey, we can certainly...
This doesn't go to students.
No, it's student surveys that we put the hold on.
Right, so we're...
Just to be safe,
vote,
I move that
fine,
we
yeah.
approve the bus survey that goes to parents.
With a question.
Yeah.
Is there any wisdom in saying, yes, my students will ride the bus in the morning, and no, they won't ride in the afternoon to optimize routes on each side? Like, would the routes change?
Well, we would still anticipate the stop.
Okay.
So then what would happen is if we didn't need to stop, let's say in the afternoon or the morning, we could fine tune that. But for right now, we want to anticipate that the child will be at the stop, so we can include it in the route. So.
I'm just thinking for efficiency purposes. I know sometimes it takes the buses a little longer to get from one school to the other in the afternoon because of traffic, or in the morning vice versa. So if there was a way to fine tune the routes by saying, oh, my student only needs a ride home, my student only needs a ride to school because I pick them up to take them to XYZ activity every day, or they go to the after school program every day, but they don't go to before school. So if there's any time savings there, if you think there's wisdom there, I think that would be a reasonable change to the survey or addition. I don't know.
I would entertain a box added to the survey that allows some input. I just don't know if we could promise every single request.
Yeah.
So again, I think starting with a yes, no, and now we're trying to focus on the no's. We still have the bus information email that we all look at. When I say we all, there are members of the transportation company and members of my staff and myself included who look at that and then review all of those requests as well too. So we can make changes. And like I said, the focus of this survey is really to eliminate the no's. And then we can fine tune as we see fit.
Okay. I think on the way home too, they can adjust the route on the fly. It's not like they can skip a stop without any repercussions in the afternoon. Whereas in the morning, if nobody's there, they still have to go just in case.
Correct.
Yes.
Bob, how many, in your experience, how many students are opted out by their parents of the bus? Is it a large number, a small number?
I would say it's a large number. It's about 300 roughly. And that's pretty consistent between 275 and 350 for the past couple of years that we've run this survey. So I would say 300 is a good estimate, and that's K to 12.
Okay, thanks.
All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye, 5-0. This doesn't go out to students, just reiterating that. Okay, any new or old business?
Yeah, updates for the policy.
I don't have any. I don't think the policy subcommittee has met.
Can I comment on that? The policy subcommittee has not met because we take direction from this committee, and the committee was clearly a 3-2 split, and we have nothing to develop. We can't develop a policy on that split vote. Policies require a 4-1 vote.
Madam Chair, I did provide the feedback to Darren Klein. I think he was going to make some edits and then get it back to the, again, to the policy subcommittee. And Mr. Brooks, I haven't gotten that back yet from the committee's attorney, but I will ask again.
Thanks.
Through the chair, I feel like given the climate and the level of detail and legal expertise that's required in this policy, I think it's best that Darren is the one writing it. I think we all have discussed openly and publicly where we stand here in the most transparent way possible. So I think that this is the best process so that everyone is aware of what's going on and everyone can be understanding of the thoughts and feelings of every committee member and not just Mrs. Monaco and I in an office with the superintendent and our attorney. Thank you.
Good.
Just some other old business. Is the committee going to set an agenda item to review the report? And then a new business item would be some parents reached out about their private school kids not being able to walk in the clap-through. So I just wanted to get some guidance on why that happened and if there's a Corey concern or something like that. I just wanted to figure out what was going on there.
Again, I think that I can answer them in reverse order. I think that there were some students who had requested who weren't Burlington High School graduates to come back and participate, who were told that they could not, and others did. So I think there was some inconsistency. I think that caused some confusion. I think this activity, which is well supported, has grown to the point where it probably needs to be more formalized. So Mr. Sullivan is working with the elementary principals to make sure that we don't have the situation again, that everyone is treated the same. And more than likely, they'll be sending a high school administrator just to the elementary school, not for any other issue than just to help coordinate the students and kids who are there. So I think it just grew too quickly, and there was some inconsistency in what was said to different kids that we need to address. We have every intention of maintaining the program. I think it's a real positive thing, and I certainly support it. And again, apologize to anyone if there was some situation that occurred that wasn't planned. The report is certainly at the discretion of the committee. That's why it was done. It is available publicly. Obviously, there's some disagreement as to sort of who was notified, when people were notified, who should be notified, and I'll certainly follow the committee's direction on that. So.
So, I mean, I'd make a motion to put an agenda item for the next agenda to do that.
To do what?
to review the report, like we said we were going to on the very first meeting when this came up for the YRBS.
But no public comments on the 19th, person transparency. And we're going to continue to come.
I don't think we need a motion. I'll discuss with Dr. Conti about putting it on the agenda. Do you want to read, anyone have the motion?
To go into executive session?
Yeah.
You have to say the.
Yeah, can you read it?
It's in the letter.
Yeah, but you have to read the motion.
Not until you've said we have to go into executive session for these reasons.
We have need for executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A1, Purpose 1, to acknowledge receipt of open meeting law complaint from Scott McCauley dated April 28th, 2025, to review and discuss this committee's response.
Return to.
We'll return to public session only for the purpose of adjournment.
I move we go into executive session.
Second.
Mr. Brooks?
Aye.
Ms. Wojcik, sorry.
Yes.
Ms. Bond?
Yes.
Ms. Monaco?
Yes.
Chair votes aye.